Why do some schools struggle to enroll students, barely leaving any real profit for the owner, and slowly turn into a ball and chain instead of the freedom that they're supposed to create? So in this video, I'm going to show you the simple blueprint behind a wildly profitable school. So instead of working harder or trying to get better instructors or adding more classes or posting more on social media, you can see how having a simple, proven blueprint will help you enroll more students, retain them for years, and build a team that can scale the dream without you. Maybe you've got students or you're teaching nonstop. Maybe it feels like your day-to-day schedule is completely full, but the money never feels stable and the pressure doesn't go away. Your good months are followed up by really stressful ones and growth feels unpredictable. And you can't remember the last time that you took time off and the school kept running without you. That's not because you're bad at business. It's definitely not because you're lazy. It's because most schools are built to just get by, not to grow in a steady, predictable way. So when enrollments feel inconsistent and your profit margin feels thin, and progress only happens when you're pushing harder, that's not a broken owner. That's a school that was never set up to work without constant pressure. My name is Jennifer Waters. I grew up in a family-run school, scaled it to multiple seven figures, and now I help school owners build wildly profitable schools that give them freedom, money, and impact. Just like Ashley, who enrolled 120 new students in 4 months, or Dave, who went from $20,000 to $54,000 a month, and Brendan, who enrolled 276 acting students in a single term after failing with multiple ad agencies. These are all different schools and different industries, but it's the same blueprint for success. So if you've ever wondered why your school may feel really busy, but you truly never feel free, let me show you what's exactly keeping schools like yours stuck and what finally creates predictable growth. I mean, let's face it, you didn't start your school for money. You started it with a big dream. You wanted to build something meaningful, something that actually mattered, something that actually changed lives. It wasn't just about having a full school, it was about also building a team you could trust and having something that could support your life. But somewhere along the way, that dream has turned into a grind and it's starting to burn you out. You pay your team, you pay the bills. You do the responsible thing and then you check the bank account and you realize there's nothing left for you. Some months, your staff takes home more than you do. You're the one who's carrying the risk though, and the stress and the responsibility. And yet you're the last in line to get paid. And you catch yourself thinking, how am I working this hard and still not getting ahead? You didn't ignore the problem. You didn't sit back and hope it fixed itself. You actually tried to solve it. You asked for advice. You looked for answers. You did what responsible school owners are supposed to do. And that's where things went wrong. Just run some ads, post more content, do some crazy offers, ask for more referrals, be patient, stack your cash, grow slow. Oh, and of course, if you build it, they will come. You know, like it's Field of Dreams or something. Here's the problem. Most of that advice isn't just unhelpful. It's poison. Because great classes don't matter if you're your town's best kept secret. Let me be clear. This is not because you failed, and it's not because you're bad at business. In fact, most school owners were never taught how to build something that scales without them in the middle of it. And if nothing changes, this won't fix itself. The grind is just gonna become more familiar. And that's how people end up loving what they do, but resenting what it costs them. Well, let's pause for a second, because after everything that I've just said, there's something that you've got to hear clearly. Here's what I believe. If you're running a school that changes lives, you deserve to be profitable. Not someday, not once everything calms down, now. You see, profit isn't greed. It's permission to breathe, to plan something for the future, to build something that is going to last. If what you do genuinely helps people, more people should know about it. Becoming the most iconic and unignorable school isn't your ego. It's your duty, it's your responsibility, and you deserve to bring home real money and still have time to enjoy your life. Before we go any further, I want you to do something for me. I want you to stop thinking like a coach, an instructor, or a teacher for just a second. And I want you to start thinking like a CEO. Because what you're about to hear isn't content, it's a diagnostic. And we're gonna go through these next parts. I want you to score your school like a traffic light. Green means you're strong, yellow means you're shaky, or red means something's broken. And if it's red, I want you to realize that that is your bottleneck. That's the thing that is stealing your profit, your time, and your freedom. And when you can see it clearly for what it is, the fix becomes obvious. So we know we need to build a wildly profitable school, but when we look at this, normally there are things that get in the way of us building it. One of those things is having really low enrollments. They're unpredictable in nature. We're not sure when we're going to get those next ones coming in the door. And then another thing that affects us from having a wildly profitable school is we have to constantly deal with this monthly churn. People come in, they take classes, then they quit. They don't stay with us. And then finally, there's just no help. It's usually on the school owner themselves to do everything, which means we can only scale past our own time and not beyond that. Now, the thing that we want to actually have happen though, and that we do with our clients, is we help them have enrollments every week. When we get our system in place, I'm going to show you what we do in particular to help our clients be able to get enrollments every single week. Now we can start building a wildly profitable school. Now, the next thing we need students who stay for years. Once we have those students sticking with us for years, then that monthly churn, although we might have some students who do leave us, the vast majority are sticking around for a long period of time. And then we need a team to scale the dream. Once we have that team in place, it becomes so much easier to not only get our time back, but to also make the business much more profitable. Now, what is it in particular that we do with our clients to be able to work on these things? Well, we like to call them projects, or things that our clients will work on depending upon what areas that they feel they need the most help with. So for example, one of the things that we look at is do we have a magnetic marketing system in place? This magnetic marketing system constantly brings us new leads every single day. And we're not having to go chase after leads. We're actually attracting them to us. They're coming to us every single day. Once we have leads coming to us, the next thing we need to look at are our programs, profitable programs. Because we could definitely get a ton of leads in the door, but not be charging enough. And then we're not going to be having a wildly profitable school if we do that. The final thing that we look at is we need a scalable sales system. When we look at sales, a lot of times when we work with school owners, everything is dependent upon them, from following up on the leads to the actual tour or the introductory lesson. And the problem with that is that, again, it all falls on the owner's shoulders. So we've got to make a scalable sales system. Now, on this side, how do we get the students to stay for years? Well, we implement something we call sticky students. This is a process where we work on the onboarding, because most of the time, people's expectations are set in their first 30 to 45 days. And the reason why they don't stay with you long term is because they didn't have a really good onboarding experience. We want to create sticky students in the first 30 to 45 days and help them through that onboarding process. Once we've done that, then we are going to start working on milestone moments. These are moments within your program where that person feels like they've achieved a milestone. Now, this is probably already happening inside of your program, inside of the classes that you have, but you just don't know how to capitalize on those moments and actually turn those moments into something that helps you retain students for years to come. And then finally, we want to have something called ascension altitude. Students tend to stay with us for a couple of reasons. Either they tend to stay with us because they have a long-term goal to achieve, or they stay with us because we're offering variety, we're offering a different experience and a different level of investment for them to gain that experience or to gain that skill set. So we want to provide an ascension pathway so that as they put more effort in, they can go ahead and see the results as they climb higher and higher in their skill set. Now, what do we do about the team that's designed to help us scale the dream? Well, we want to do what's called working on a talent incubator. This is where we're going to be looking at potential team members and we're going to be incubating them. We're going to be putting them into a process where, boom, out they pop and they are ready to help us scale the dream. Now, this is a systematic process that's involved, and a lot of times we find that people have a hard time knowing what to look for in a hire or even deciding when to hire someone. The talent incubator takes care of all that. Another reason why people have such a hard time scaling is because they lack systems and processes that are repeatable. Now, you might have heard of the S&P 500. I like to invest in something called the S&P 1 million. And the S&P 1 million is essentially the systems and processes that you need to install into your school so it could scale to $1 million a year if you wanted it to. Not everybody wants to, but you definitely can't step away from your school until you have $1 million standard operating procedure that anybody within your organization can run the day-to-day on. And so that's one of the things that we focus on with our clients. Now, finally, the last piece of the puzzle here is that we want to help work on financial freedom for the owner. So this is getting really clear on what the numbers are inside the business. All the numbers that come from marketing, all the numbers that come from retention, and all the numbers that drive profit. Once we can get really clear on what those numbers are, then we can pull the levers that help the business move forward, or we can pump the brakes that will help the business avoid disaster in the future. Hey, quick interruption. If you're thinking to yourself already, yep, this is the missing piece, and you don't need to see the rest of the video to be convinced, DM me the word profit on Instagram and I'll send you the next step. Just search for the Jennifer Waters and send me the word profit. All right, let's get back to it. Don't just take this from me, because the fastest way to know whether a system works is to see it work for people who started where you are. Different schools, different countries, different industries, the same problem, the same system, the same result. Meet Ashley. Ashley had some success running an after-school program. In fact, it was completely maxed out, full, it was strong. But her evening spots, they were empty. She didn't need more space, she didn't need better instructors, she didn't need to work harder. She needed a clear enrollment system for those evening spots. Well, once we fixed that, she added 120 students in just 4 months with the same building, the same team, but a different system. Chastity was already doing 7 figures, and from the outside it looked incredible, but most all of it came from high-ticket privates, shows, and one-off revenue for a competition dance school. And so it meant that she had high amounts of stress and people were dependent upon her, and there was a lot of volatility month to month. So what we did is we helped her launch her first adult group classes and program. Not only did she fill it, she created recurring revenue. She reduced her stress, and she was actually able to open a second location. She had a better structure and a far better path to freedom. Johnny was just under 7 figures when he started with us, and on paper he was successful, but in reality, everything still depended upon him and he was getting burned out. Once these systems were in place, he hit his first 7-figure year ever. He started paying his team more, started taking more time off, still had the same ambition, just a different structure. Now Brendan, he owns a music school, and Brendan was convinced that this wouldn't work because he said, I'm not martial arts like you, Jennifer. Turns out, students are students, parents are parents, systems still matter. He enrolled 30 new students in 45 days and proved to himself that growth wasn't industry specific, it was structure specific. And John owns a school in the UK, and John didn't even want 7 figures. He just wanted a school that could run without him in it day to day, that didn't require him constantly making decisions, and that actually gave him his time back. So we helped him systematize everything. Now his school runs without him, and he travels while building other businesses, while his school still runs. Here's what matters. These were not unicorns. They weren't lucky. They weren't exceptions. They stopped relying on hustle and guesswork and their own personalities to grow their schools. And they started actually relying on systems. And that's why the results look different than maybe what yours are now. And if you saw yourself in even just one of these stories, that's not coincidence. That is proof that the problem was never you. I want you to understand something. I'm not sharing any of this as an outsider. I didn't study in a classroom. I didn't theorize this from behind a screen. I lived this. I grew up on the mats of my dad's martial arts school, and it was family run from day one. I was there for the classes, the cleanup, all the late nights, the we'll figure it out seasons. When I was 18, I stepped fully into the business with him, and that's when reality hit. Because back then, we weren't thriving. We were bringing in about $3,000 a month. We were passionate, we were great at teaching, and students loved us, but the business side, well, we were winging it. We didn't have systems or strategy, we didn't have marketing or pricing figured out, we didn't have a plan to scale. Everything depended on us, and that meant more hours and more classes and more effort. And eventually, passion without structure turns into pressure. We stopped guessing and hoping. We started building systems. We learned how to enroll students every week, not just when the phone rang. We created offers that actually converted, and we were able to raise our prices. We built a team instead of carrying everything on our own shoulders, and started treating the school like a real business, not just a passion project. It's crazy. We grew that tiny school into a multiple seven-figure operation. It allowed us to open additional locations, and we built a leadership team. We stopped being the bottleneck, and for the first time, the business supported our life instead of consuming it. And that's the part a lot of people miss. The freedom didn't come from working less, it came from building something that worked without us. And since then, I've helped hundreds of other school owners do the exact same thing. Different cities, different industries, different starting points, but the same problem, the same framework, same result. So now the question is simple. Do you want to keep guessing? Or do you want to see what this would actually look like inside of your own school? If you want clarity on whether this system is right for you, DM me the word profit on Instagram, and I'll send you the next step. This is just a clear look at whether or not this makes sense for your school and what it would take to implement it. So DM me profit to the Jennifer Waters on Instagram. You don't need more passion, and you don't have to care more. You don't necessarily need to work harder. You just need a better plan. And now you know what one actually looks like. A plan that creates that predictable growth, pays you well, and doesn't cost you your life to run it. And when you're ready to stop surviving and to start building something that actually supports you, I'd love to help. I can't wait to help you build your wildly profitable school.